Well, hello, everybody. This is Coach Rahti of Creative Calling Coaching, and this is my twice a week Facebook Live video called COVID Coping with Coach Rahti. We just finished up a series of oracle cards called the Kabbalah deck, which consisted of all the letters of the Hebrew alphabet and the 10 Sephirot of the Tree of Life. And I went through all the significances of those, and we got to the end. Think of that. 22 letters and 32 live streams, which I will soon have available in total on YouTube for people who like to have the anthology of everything. So today I'm talking about something else for the first time in a while. I thought I'd tell a story. I am, as many of you know, in the home of one of my relatives taking care of someone who is in home hospice at this moment. And there's an object in the room that I want to share with you now. It's a very evocative object for me. Okay. This trunk, please ignore all of that, the menu on the side there. Didn't know how to get rid of that, but this trunk came over to America from France with my mother. My mother came over here with my father right after they got married in 1953. And I have known this trunk all my life. And when I look at this trunk, I can just imagine them arriving on this ocean liner. The ocean liner was called the Cunard, one of the famous huge ocean liners back then that existed, the Cunard, coming over from there. I can imagine my parents coming down onto the deck and the bustle that would go on, and it would probably be some deckhands who would bring all the luggage down, and there's a tag that still remains on this trunk of who it belongs to, and I can just imagine them calling out my mother's name, calling for luggage to be claimed. And this piece made its way, containing all kinds of, who knows, lace and pictures and perhaps a tea setting and whatever else my mother found precious to come over with her. I could see this trunk ending up on Bolton Street in the Bronx, where my grandmother lived. Now, when they arrived at that apartment, my mother was totally at sea, alone in a strange country. And for the first time, she witnessed how her husband was suddenly being treated like a king. You know, it was his sister was clipping his toenails on the couch. Right, imagine that. And his mother waiting on him with tea from some electric samovar they had back then. And she ruefully recalls this because suddenly she realized what the expectation really was of the women in his life. This trunk ended up in the home I grew up in and eventually became the home of all of the costumes and costume pieces I wore or my mother created for me for all of the community theater productions I partook in or the high school plays and musicals, just full of magical stuff that lived in there for many, many, many years. Eventually, things were gotten rid of. I might have appropriated them and used them in other theater pieces or given them away, who knows. And it got transported here to my mother's final place of residence, probably. And it lives in the room I'm staying. It is filled now with linens, bed sheets, that sort of thing. I remember it was lined with this newspaper from the 1950s. It was so fun to look at that newspaper with all of the strange advertisements. But now it serves as a holder of linens for objects of it holds objects of service, and it made me think about the fact that we are all picture back in there. We're all essentially containers, and we are the containers of different purpose and different objectives throughout our lives. And that sense of purpose and objective changes. And there's no shame in that. In fact, it's called, I think, growth. I remember for the longest time, I was what was in this container here was the actress. And that's how I identified myself. Until I ended up moving into a commune, Hindu kibbutz, as I used to refer to it, an ashram, and I became the container of this spiritual seeker, a yogini. I went back, came back, I became the container of a stand-up comic, the container of a comedian, the container again of an actress, the container of a playwright, and all these tools and things that I could call upon to create for the purpose of creating those plays and conveying that meaning. And now the linens have changed again. The objects in the container have changed again, and I am now a container for coaching. And my purpose is in helping other people realize their purpose and contain the things that they want to have in their lives. So our purpose does change. I think it's really useful to think of our lives that way. That whatever we are is more than the container. All right. Our purpose changes. Our worldview changes. What we find meaningful and the meaning we want to make in the world changes. And we are the container for that, as we are spirits experiencing this human existence in this container. So I want to help you with your container. What are you carrying around now? Is it useful? Is it old news? Is it a bunch of partially done projects? Is it time to do a little Marie Kondo curating to see what sparks joy and what needs to be let go? One way I do this is through offering an annual planning and strategy session. And this is the time of year when I do that for a select few people. It's one of my few one-off sessions. We get together, you and I, for an hour and a half. And we basically create a blueprint for your life in the coming year. We can strictly focus on your career and business. We can focus on the whole pie, the whole life wheel. Essentially, we empty out the container. We get rid of what's no longer working. We draw on the wins from last year and move those forward. We create a plan, which is not life, but we create a plan to live into. The plan itself is a container for our visions, for the goals and objectives we have, a container for the strategies and the actions we take so that we finally arrive a year later full of all the meaning that we wanted to create in the coming year, in the year ahead. We arrive at December 2021 able to look back and say, I launched that business. I wrote that play. I got that job I wanted. I have the relationship I've been dreaming of. I've helped my child through major obstacles. You can look back and say, I have conveyed my purpose. You see, there's emotional planning and there's strategic planning. Emotional planning really isn't planning. It's flying by the seat of your pants, doing what you want when you feel like it. It has no overview. And when you peruse a container, you look at the purpose of a container, you think about what you need to fill it with. Well, that's what we're going to do in this hour and a half long session, which usually costs $350, but at this time of year, for a few people, I make time available at a very reduced rate. I think it's a savings of $125. So it's 200. My math might be off. Don't make me do math in the middle of a live stream, please. This planning and strategy session is going for $225, and I have 5 spots left. So I would encourage you to go to the link that I am going to post in the description of this video so that you can schedule yours, and we can make sure that your shelves are in order and you have a nice shopping list and you know exactly what you're going to be full of for the coming, that came out wrong, what you're going to fulfill for yourself in the coming year. And if you know anybody who's interested, who might need that service, I would ask that you forward this on to them. You could even purchase it as a gift for them, but you need to move because I can't open my calendar up at that reduced rate for too long, or I'll get a little cranky. Okay. And I also have to reserve the space in my calendar for my practice and my regular clients. But I would really love to get to know you and set you up to win this year. Anyway, I'll be back on Thursday. I'm still thinking about what the next topic series will be for these live streams. So if you have any ideas, any suggestions, I hope that you'll post them in the comments. And thank you for watching, as always. I'll see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.